Hey, awesome accounting student, Mark Franke here. This video is to provide you with some Excel techniques that we use in accounting to do financial stuff and to make financial statements. And I'm going to be using problem 1-7B. Now I'm going to go fairly quickly, so if you're not familiar with Excel, and perhaps even if you are, I would watch the video all the way through. I've given you a handout that you can use to fill out in pencil as I go through these transactions and financial statements. But I'm going to illustrate how we use Excel so that you can get some practice doing that. And then, of course, you can go back and watch it over and over again and stop it and try and duplicate the things that I've been doing. But as you know, the first thing we always need is our name and the problem. Now, this is on page 38 of your textbook. This is a new business, Nico's Maintenance Company. So I'm just going to put Nico's Maintenance Company. And I'm going to need 12 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I am going to center this over those columns. Let's make it one extra. And merge and center the name of the company over the top. And then I'm going to build a spreadsheet down below. I'll use a thick outside border just to put the name of the company there. And I'm going to need a reference column, a date column, and then I will need some columns over here. I need a column for cash, accounts receivable, and of course I'm going to make that maybe a little smaller, and I will use that tool, and then equipment, make that a little smaller, and then that's my assets. So I'm going to make a little skinny column by skinning up, except I did the wrong one. So when we skinny up a column or make it wider, if you move the cursor to the top of the column, and then you can make it skinny. And I'm going to use these three, and I'm going to use that merge and center tool so that we have assets there. And let's go ahead and put a box around that. And then we have liabilities. And the liability is accounts payable. Oops. Okay. And I'm going to use the centering tool to center these guys. And there's liabilities. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shade this middle column here where the equal sign is so that the reader knows that I've got the equal sign in the middle here. And then over here, we're going to need 5 columns for equity. So I will make this one skinny, and we'll do owner's equity, and merge and center that. And under the equity, I need common stock. And I'm going to pause the video and put in these titles, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've just added the titles to these columns and put a box around it so that we can do that. Now, I'm going to also merge and center this reference column, and I'm also going to center it so that it looks a little nicer. And I will do the same thing, merge and center with the date column, and I might as well put a box around those guys just to be consistent. So now I've got a nice clean little spreadsheet that I can use to record my transactions. And I want the transactions to be in red, so I am going to highlight this area and change it to red. So I'm going to type in A, B, C, and because we use that again, okay, so I've got my references here, and I'm also going to format this for dates. So I've highlighted this area. If I right click and go to Format Cells and click on the date, I can find the date I like, the date format I like, and that'll be fine. And so this is June 1st, and we'll use 2020. And so the very first transaction says Nina Nico invested $130,000 in cash in the company in exchange for its common stock. So we have cash going up, $130,000, and common stock going up, $130,000. Opposite sides of the equal sign, they have to be the same. In this case, they're both positive. Now you can see that I've got formatting issues. We don't type in the comma in Excel. We can add the comma using a format. So I am going to highlight this whole area here down to the bottom, and I'm going to click on the comma style so that it adds commas, and I'm going to get rid of the pennies. In my class, I don't ever need to see pennies. You can just forget about pennies except for payroll. That'll be chapter, I don't know, 8 or 9. But as far as everything is concerned, we can just round everything to the nearest dollar, particularly in summary schedules like this. Okay, so that's our first transaction, A. Transaction B, June the 2nd. It says the company rented a furnished office and paid $6,000 cash for the rent. Cash is going down, that's a negative, and we have an expense. And expenses are always negative, and we'll label it the rent. Transaction C is on June the 4th. It says the company purchased $2,400 of equipment on credit, which means equipment is going up and accounts payable is going to go up because we're going to pay later. We didn't pay right now. Transaction D, June 6th. The company paid $11.50 cash for this month's advertising of the opening of the business. So cash is going to go down $11.50. And we've got another expense, and it's advertising. Transaction E. The company completed maintenance services for a customer and immediately collected $8.50 in cash. So this is revenue. This is on June the 8th. So we've got $8.50 in cash. Cash is going up, and this time we have revenue. Under the revenue column. Transaction F. Uh-oh, this is wrong. On the 14th. The company completed $7,500 of maintenance service for Cine Center on credit. So we have revenue that we haven't collected yet. $7,500 is going to go into accounts receivable and $7,500 into revenue. Opposite sides of the equal sign, they have to be the same. Transaction G is on the 16th. Paid $800 cash for an assistant's salary for the first half of the month. Cash is going down, $800, and we have an expense for salaries. Expense. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to put in the rest of the transactions down to P. Hopefully these are familiar to you. This is a review of of Accounting 100. So I will put these in and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I have now put in the transactions that are given to you in the book through June 30th. That is transaction P, and I'm going to draw a line because I'm going to do a math function. I'm going to add all the columns up, and I like to use thick bottom border. This is the border tool, and that's where we're drawing lines. The border tool is up here. And now I'm going to use the auto sum. Auto sum is probably the most useful and frequently used function in Excel for an accountant. And what it is it adds up a series or a column of numbers. So I've got the marching ants down here because I've got a break. So Excel doesn't really know that I want to go all the way to the top. So I'm just going to go and do that. And 130,060. And then I'm going to just drag it straight across using the drag tool. The drag tool is, and let me do that again. So the drag tool is the lower part of the cell. If you click on that and then just drag it across, it will copy that formula all the way across, and then I've got to put my shading back in, and there it looks good. So now I've got to make sure that my two sides balance. So I'm going to put total assets on this side and total liabilities and equity on this side. And I'll just use a column here and a column here. And I'm going to use a formula. All formulas start with the equal sign. So I'm going to start with the equal sign, and I'm going to add together cash plus accounts receivable plus equipment. And my total assets is 133, 135. I'll put a border around it, and let's just go ahead and shade it with something just to kind of make it look distinctive. And over here, start with the equal sign, add accounts payable, common stock, dividends, revenue, expenses, 133, 135. I'll put a box and a highlight on it. And look at that, everything balances. All the cogs of the universe are in alignment. So now we need to prepare some financial statements. And we'll do that on another sheet. So I've got sheet 1. If I move my cursor to the bottom and go to rename, or you can double click on it, I'm going to call this the transactions. And then I'll click on the little plus sign down at the bottom here to get a new sheet. This is a brand new sheet, and once again I need my name. Actually, I can just use the equal sign and link it to my name. Back where I did it in A1, equal sign, and I'm going to link it back to transactions for problem 7.1b. And here are the financial statements. I'm going to skinny up column A. I'm going to use maybe 5 columns for the financial statements. This is Nico's maintenance company. This is the income statement. And this is for the month ended June 30, 2020. And I'm going to merge and center, merge and center, merge and center, and put a box around the whole thing to make a nice heading. This is a formal income statement. We always need a heading. We'll start with revenues. Oops. And then we will have expenses. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the income statement, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I put in the revenues and expenses. I need to do a little bit of formatting. So what I'm going to do first is format this whole area for commas with no decimal points. And then I'm going to use the sum key and total up the expenses. I need to draw another line using the border tool, and I'm going to subtract, start with the equal sign, and subtract expenses from revenue, and my net income is 7,135. That is the end of the income statement. I'll just make this look a little nicer. So I need to also, and I'm going to highlight revenue number, and I'm going to hold down the control key and highlight the net income, because I want dollar signs on those guys, but I still don't want pennies. So I've put dollar signs on them. And for net income, because this is the end, I'm going to do a bottom double border. That's a double line on the income statement. Now, because I have already done some formatting up here, I'm going to use that. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it down here so I can make my statement of owner's equity. And here's the statement of retained earnings. So I will prepare a statement of retained earnings, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have a nicely formatted statement of retained earnings, dollar signs top and bottom, double line underneath the ending retained earnings. Because this is a brand new company, we didn't have retained earnings at the beginning, so that's 0. And now I'm going to make myself a balance sheet just so that it will be visually better. I'm going to put it over here on the right. I'm going to copy, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, or you can right click and copy and paste. And this is going to be the balance sheet. And this is as of June 30, 2020. As you know, income statement, statement of retained earnings, cover a period of time, in this case the month ended, and the balance sheet is as of a moment in time. So we're going to start with assets, of course, and we have 3. I'm going to skinny this up. Cash, accounts receivable, and equipment. Okay, so I will go ahead and build the balance sheet and balance it out, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I've got a very simple balance sheet prepared. Two sets of dollar signs on the balance sheet because in effect we have two schedules here, a schedule of assets and a schedule of liabilities and owner's equity. And of course it balances and it ties to our transaction worksheet. So the last thing I'm going to do is prepare a statement of cash flows. Now, a statement of cash flows is our fourth statement. It's a requirement of GAAP. This is the only time before Chapter 12 that you'll see this. This is in Chapter 1. It's going to be a real basic cash flow statement, but we will dig very deep into the cash flow statement when we get to Chapter 12 at the end of the semester. But right now, I'm going to copy, Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. I just copied the heading from the statement of retained earnings, and I'm going to call this the cash flow statement. And what I'm going to do is build a statement. The statement of cash flows has operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities. These are the three components of the cash flow statement. I'll pause the video, I will prepare this, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Here is the cash flow statement. We've got operating activities, investing activities, financing activities. When we add all three of these together, we get the net increase in cash. And since this is the first month of operations, there was no beginning balance in cash. So the ending balance and the net increase are going to be the same. We put a dollar sign top and bottom with a double underline at the end. This is the normal way that we prepare financial statements. And this is the fourth statement. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about this in Chapter 1, but this is hopefully will provide some guidance on preparing a solution to problem 17A. So this is 17B. Practice and start working on 17A, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.